To graduate with a teaching degree, I had to work as a substitute teacher. By a twist of fate, I was assigned to the very high school I once attended, and that's where my story truly begins. I was barely 20, just starting to figure out who I was. I definitely wasn't one for trends. If I liked something my dad wore, I'd wear it. And my hair, well, it was a thick, untamed mess, sort of like a giant bird's nest. So, picture this. I walk into the school administration office, looking like that. The welcome was brief. Just a simple, "Welcome, foreign language teacher." And they quickly handed me a class schedule and a key to the teacher's room. My first class was at 9 o'clock. I've never believed in traditional teaching, especially for foreign languages. I wanted to bring something new, something real to the classroom. Plus, I had my own views on society and politics, and I was determined to make a real difference, even as this small, quirky young man. I stepped into the classroom and the noise was deafening. "Hello!" I yelled, trying to get their attention. Suddenly, a hush fell over the room. All eyes were on this strange figure with a stork's nest on his head. "Hello, guys," I said again. "My name is Yakub, and I'll be your substitute French teacher." Whispers and giggles immediately broke out. I knew it was the hair. I rubbed my head and joked, "Stop staring at my hair. You won't find any eggs in there." The whole class erupted in laughter. In that moment, I knew I'd broken the first barrier. I felt a surge of happiness. "All right," I continued. "Let's get to know each other." I started walking around, shaking hands and asking for names. I stopped at one student who said, "My name is Yusuf, and I have a question." "Go ahead," I replied. He asked with a cheeky grin, "Do you shock your hair with electricity to make it look like that?" This was my first test. Smiling, I shot back, "Do you think I'd still be alive if I electrocuted my head?" "No, my dear Yusuf. My hair looks like this because I pull it a lot while I'm studying French." Everyone laughed, and I had successfully navigated Yusuf's mischief. But as I looked around, I noticed one student who barely cracked a smile. He looked incredibly shy. I walked over and held out my hand. "My name is Yakub." He stood up, his face turning bright red, and his hand trembled as he reached for mine. He struggled to get the words out. Allah. He was stuttering. The other students immediately started laughing. Someone yelled, "He needs half an hour to finish a sentence." The laughter grew louder, and I watched as Allah's face crumpled. He choked back a sob and burst into tears. I handed Allah the key to my office and asked him to wait for me there. Then I turned to the rest of the class. "We all have things that Allah could laugh at us for," I said calmly. "But He has too much respect for you to do that. When you laugh at how He speaks, you're hurting His dignity while He respects yours." After class, I picked up Allah's notebook. It was filled with beautiful poems, drawings of flowers, and eyes filled with tears. When I got to my office, Allah was waiting. I pulled a juice box from my bag and offered it to him. "Have some juice," I said, "but please don't stare at my hair. Maybe my nose looks better? What do you think about my ears?" Allah let out a genuine laugh, and I felt a wave of relief. "Look, Allah," I said gently. "When you find it hard to speak, try placing your hand right here on your neck, just above your throat." I made up some story about how it helps nerve signals reach the vocal cords faster. It wasn't scientific, but I knew what he needed was confidence, not a medical explanation. His difficulty was rooted in shyness and fear. He believed me. We started practicing right there in my office. At first he still stuttered, but with time he began speaking almost naturally. The months flew by. Allah's confidence soared, and my bond with all the students grew stronger. I became something of a celebrity around the school. As the school year drew to a close, Allah's speech had improved dramatically. The stutter was gone. No one laughed anymore. I went up to him and said, "I know you write poetry. I want you to recite one at the graduation ceremony." He immediately shook his head. "No, please, no." I put my hands on his shoulders. "Don't be afraid, Allah. Your poems are wonderful. Please, do it for me. Do it for your friend Yakub. You are a man and a poet. You are my student, and I trust you." He agreed. On graduation day, my heart was pounding as I called his name. The whole auditorium applauded as he walked to the stage. I was terrified he would freeze, but he stood tall. He put his hand on his neck, looked right at me, and began to recite his poem. He didn't stutter once. He was flawless. I couldn't hold back the tears of joy streaming down my face. Years have passed, and Allah and I are miles and worlds apart. I don't know if he still puts his hand on his neck when he speaks. But whenever I remember him in those days, I put my hand on my heart, and I say, I love you all. Thank you for listening. If this story touched you, please consider liking and subscribing for more.